Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Open to Work Beyond the Label, the podcast for talent in transition. I am so excited. I have a very special guest today. So, today we're sitting down with Dana Ward, a dynamic program coordinator and client services leader who proves that people are much more than their job titles, which we love to say here on this podcast. With over a decade of experience in operations, marketing, and client success, and now a certified personal trainer, which girl, I need tips. Dana is on a mission to help others reach their goals both in business and in life. We're going to talk about navigating career transitions, bringing clarity to chaos, and how purpose and people first leadership drive Dana's approach to everything she does. Whether you're pivoting in your career or simply need a dose of inspiration, this episode is going to be packed with insight, heart, and motivation to keep going. So thank you, Dana, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes. Okay. So let's start with who you are beyond the label. So what should
Mhm.
everybody know about you besides what they can see on your LinkedIn?
Everyone should know that I'm not everything that you see on my LinkedIn in terms of there's so much more. I'm energetic. I am quirky. I am a people person. I feel like resumes and LinkedIn's like everyone's so professional and very curated and everything. And I'm a little chaotic. I'm a little messy. And that's okay. That is okay to me. I am a dog mom. I'm a wife and I love life. I love being outside. It's really hard when people are like, describe yourself in X amount of words. And I'm like, that's difficult because I feel like there's so many different facets of me. So that's me in a nutshell.
Incredible. And let's embrace the messy because girl, same.
Preach.
So you've said that people are so much more than their job titles, which seriously, I love to make sure people know that. Can you share a little bit about how that belief shaped your own career?
Yeah, of course. So it's funny because I feel like in today's society, we get so caught up in titles, be it in work, in life. And in my eyes, a title is just whatever your company has given you to give you a dollar amount or a place in the company. Like I noticed that, especially when applying for jobs after being let go from my previous company, and I'm trying to apply for jobs and I'm like looking for the exact same title that I had. And I'm like, other companies don't have this title. It was something completely different, but it was the exact same job. And that's when it clicked like titles, like they don't matter. Like to some people, it's their everything. And, for those people, I wish you all the best. But for me, it's just something that a company gives you. And the way that shaped me is the fact that I don't look at people as their title. I look at people for who they are. So I worked very closely with the senior vice president. And while everyone else was like, oh, he's a senior vice president, I looked at him as who he was. I always have respect for people. So it was never well, you don't have respect for that person, then no, they're a person. Of course, I'm going to have respect for them. But I didn't have to, I didn't play any games with them in terms of like putting on a face or anything like that. I just treated them like a person and I gave them respect. And a lot of times I worked in my benefit because they would then look at me not in my title, but as just a person and give me respect more than they would probably other people who play the title game.
That is so insightful because in the beginning of my career, I did a lot of that in terms of not carrying that they're the SVP or the CEO or the COO. Like I wasn't intimidated by that. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
hey, XYZ name. And it's funny because even with my fiance, soon to be husband, in 2 weeks I'm getting married, so wish me luck.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I would always call his parents by their first name. And he's like,
Hmm.
Laura, it's Mr. and Mrs. Gusman. And I'm like, I'm an adult. I'm not gonna
Right.
call them Mr. and Mrs. Gusman like their title. I'm gonna call them by
Right.
their name and I'm
Exactly.
gonna treat them like people. Now they're gonna be my in-laws, but like they're
Hmm.
people. And so the
Exactly.
titles totally like get beyond the title. Let's look at the
Yeah.
human. Let's humanize people.
Exactly. And I think that we've come so far from that as a society, and especially now with like AI and everything. AI, it's such a blessing. It helps us so much in so many different facets. But at the same time, it also hurts us because people then look at us as a sheet of paper, as these keywords that they're looking for in a resume. And it it takes away from the fact of if you were to meet with this person, you would probably see all of their beauty of who they are. And you're missing out because AI didn't pick up on whatever was in their resume.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so now you've had many different titles and you've shifted from operations to marketing and now personal training. What sparked this evolution?
So it really started off where I just really enjoy helping people. So starting off in like a client services position, I saw I could help customers, utilize whatever software product that they were getting from the company and to enhance their business. And then from there, going into operations, I was really in like an admin role where I was able to help people kind of navigate and connect. And then personal training. I've always been in the fitness world. I really enjoy working out, being part of a team. I was a collegiate athlete. So working out's always been in my life. And I realized that there is a space that I can help my family. It really started with wanting to help my family. I can help my family make better life decisions. And I think they would listen to me a little bit more if I had like that certification, because otherwise it's like, oh, you just Googled that. But really just helping people is what stemmed the jump into personal training. I'm actually also pursuing a certification in nutrition. So I'm going to have a nice, well-rounded offering eventually, working on that. But yeah, so helping people is really what is the underlying basis of everything that I enjoy doing and everything that I'm good at, building relationships and just finding how to add value to people's lives.
Totally. So, what mindset was required as you explored these very different experiences and opportunities?
The mindset of just being open and realizing that there are core skill sets that I have that just are who I am. I am able to build relationships. I am a learner. I enjoy learning and I'm a figure it out type of person. That being my core being, I can personally think I can go into any realm that I want as long as I have like the wherewithal that, hey, I'm going to be applying myself here. I can accomplish anything. I always say, with the exception of finance. My husband handles the finances in our house, but honestly, throw me in, I could probably figure it out and be very good at it. So I would just want in the mindset of being open and knowing that I'm a forever learner. As long as I can hold on to the fact that I'm a forever learner, and if I don't know something, I'll figure it out and I'll find the answer. Like anything's possible, really.
That's an incredible mindset, and more people need to lean into the mindset of I can do anything. And we need to continue to instill that in the children of the world
Yes.
because so
Yeah.
often people and children feel like, oh, that's not realistic or I can't do that. But we need to instill that you can do anything you put your mind to. So you mentioned being a college athlete. What sport did you play?
I was a cheerleader.
A
So I cheered at
cheerleader.
George Mason, yeah, before they got rid of their competition piece of the program. So we actually did compete down in Orlando. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
So, what, if any, skill set did you learn in cheerleading that you took to your career?
Oh my gosh, so many. A lot of people look at cheerleading and they think sideline cheer. They're like, go, go team, rah, rah, pom poms. And like, yes, obviously there's a piece of that to what we do, but the competition side is really the nitty gritty side. I mean, sideline also you need a little bit of like leadership and knowing how to work with people. But competition is where you really learn to work with different people. As we all know, there's different type of people and different personalities, and you have to learn to navigate them to get a common goal accomplished. So it teaches you that, and it teaches you how to dig in. Things are going to be uncomfortable. You're going to not succeed the first time, the second time, the 50th time, but you keep going and you're not practicing for perfection, but practicing for progress. You hear all the time, practice till you're perfect. There's no such thing as perfection. There's only progress and just being better than last time. And that's what it really taught me how to do, taught me how to have thick skin because not everyone's going to like you. Not everything's going to come to you easy. You got to work for what you want and you need to learn how to put a smile on and do it. And you're going to see such a elevation in your game when you have this can do attitude with a smile on your face. A lot of people go into things with like doom, gloom, and just like, oh, it's so hard. You're making it that much harder for yourself. Smile, have some fun. Know that if you mess up, you're probably the only one that notices. learn from it, keep going.
I needed you as a coach when I was a cheerleader. I only lasted a year, so I give you a ton of
Oh, I'm so
credit.
sorry.
I needed you as somebody who was extremely motivating and saying, look, these are all the different dynamics in this sport that you have to work through.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just didn't end that way for me.
There's different coaches out there. I'm very thankful for the coaches I had in the moment. They might have stressed me out of it, but looking back, hindsight, I'm very thankful for them.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible. Okay, so you mentioned having a mission to bring value to others and being motivated to do that and helping people. So, what does it look like for you? You've talked a little bit about life bringing value to people. What does it look like for you in business?
So in business, I feel like everyone has strengths that they can play to. And when you have a team of people playing to your strengths, knowing your strength and then playing to them, you really go so much further than trying to focus on bettering your weaknesses. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize that because we don't always hear that. We always hear, well, you need to get better at your weaknesses so you don't have any. And it's like, no, we're going to have weaknesses. What are your strengths? Play to those, and you're going to go so much further because not only are you going to be more successful in actually whatever you're doing, but you're also going to have a better self image and a better mindset. So in business, what that looks like is honestly what it looks like in life too, because at the end of the day, again, we're all people. So that means when you are working with someone who might be a little difficult, trying to bring that, not have attitude back, bring that kindness to them and help, maybe shape their perspective. It looks like reminding people that they are good in what they're doing. It remind them of their strengths. And then if you can't help them technically or physically with anything, everyone can always give a compliment. A compliment or a nice word. It was really funny in my office when we were in the office, remote now, but when we were in the office, I would be the person that when I would walk by someone, I would compliment them on something. You can say something nice about everyone. And just that one little compliment adds value to their day because no one knows what kind of day they're having, right? They could have just got out of a meeting with their boss and just had a very tough one-on-one and feeling down. And you compliment them on something completely random and maybe uplift them for 15 seconds or something. It's more than someone else probably did. So in the workplace, out of the workplace, the reminder is that we're all people and we can add value in so many different ways. If it's not monetarily, if it's not physically, if it's not technically, it's at least with a kind word, a smile.
We need to bring more kindness into this world. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's rough out there. You turn on the TV, you watch the news. I mean, I'm not a big news watcher because I like to protect my mind, but you turn on the news and you just see so much like doom and gloom and people talking about people. It gets to you after a while.
Yeah, we also need to improve our media because it's terrible in the US.
And that is a whole other conversation.
We won't open that can of worms. So, can you share a time when a people first approach has made a measurable difference in a team or in a project?
Yeah, so we'll go back to the cheer days. People first, more of a team first mentality. We're putting together our competitive team for competition. And this was one of the last years I was there. If it wasn't my last year, it was my second to last year. We're putting together our competition team and seeing everyone's skills and everything. And at this point, I'm a leader on the team. I want to be on the mat. My skills are not as top tier as some of the other people's, like in terms of tumbling, but everywhere else, I'm excelling. So I recognize that and I get injured. I get a concussion and and this was like a few weeks before we left for Orlando to compete. And I was devastated. And I was like, this stinks. I watched a first year come in and take my spot. Her tumbling was better than mine. So I got nervous because I was like, what if she permanently takes my spot? What if I am able to come back? But my coach is like, no, like she fits better. And I had an option because I had to teach her all of my paths, all of my skills. And I had an option at that point. I could either really like help her, but not really help her, kind of like sabotage, or I could lean in and help her because she might be what's good for the bigger team. And I really wanted my spot, but I really wanted our team to win. So I figured, hey, at the end of the day, if she is a better person for the spot, it is what it is. I have no one to blame but myself for not pushing myself harder before now to put myself in a better position. So I leaned in and I helped her. I got my spot back. I will say that I did get my spot back, but I think I only got my spot back because I let myself not get caught up in my ego and realize that for the better of the team, she might be a better fit if she can get the rest of these skills, and that's going to be okay. At the end of the day, the main goal is to win. The main goal is to hit our routine, which will then hopefully mean we win. And if that's what needed to be, that's what needed to be.
Wow, that's a powerful story about when you put others ahead of your own needs at times, it can ultimately result in you having more fulfillment and a better life, and ultimately what you need at the end of the day. God
Yeah.
is always watching. I don't know if you're religious, but I am.
I know I am. What I always say is if I make sure everyone else is good, God's going to make sure I'm good. So
Amen.
I rock with that all the time. I'm like, I just want to make sure everyone else around me is good. And I know God's got me at the end of the day.
That is absolutely perfect and a great way to think about things. So, your talent in transition, what are you
Mhm.
hoping for in your next opportunity?
So my next opportunity. So honestly, I would love to make a pivot. Right now I'm in government contracting and we all know the world of government contracting before everything that's been going on was spicy and since is become even spicier. So I would love to, and I got into GovCon kind of by happenstance. I had my position at my previous job had been eliminated. So I was in this gray area, not sure what to do. I started utilizing my resources and I connected with someone who ended up being a recruiter for a GovCon company. And he put my resume in for me and I went through the interview process, ended up getting the job, and I had an amazing boss. Two bosses. Both my bosses that I reported to loved them both, like loved them so much that they were both at my wedding in Mexico. So, like, great friendship there. And that's honestly why I stayed. The job itself was a job. It was a job, and I did it. And I'm thankful that they gave me the opportunity to do it for as long as I did. But personally, I feel like my true skill set was not being utilized. And I felt my creative side of me kind of like dying. And in a world where there's so much automation now, having natural creativity to me is extremely important to keep up somehow. So when I realized that this role was going to be ending, I said, okay, I have a couple of different things that I can do in terms of I can pivot completely, or I can continue down the path that I've been on. I can fall back to what I was doing before. So my doors are open to an array of things. I would love to pivot to either something in the fitness world or even in like an HR position, something of that nature, something where I'm working with people, I'm building relationships, and I'm helping them in whatever facet. Client services is great and you do get to help the customer, but I also remember those KPIs being real draining on me. Monthly quotas were, I mean, while I did excel in them and, President's Club trips and all that, had a great time. That was great. It was also, it was a time. So
Yeah,
maybe
you did
something that
excel
doesn't have a
though.
K.
Yeah, well, at least you weren't knocking on the doors like me.
Listen, no, but I was coming behind you all and being
Yeah,
like, what did
cleaning
your
up the
sales
mess.
rep? What did your sales rep promise you? Okay, we'll see about that.
Never me.
Never you. No, no, I never got a bad deal from you.
Love it. I love it. So, tell me, what type of problems are you excited about potentially solving for a company?
Oh, okay. Type of problems I'm excited about solving for a company. Internal communications and processes. I feel like I really have an eye for how to take a process and tighten it up, clean it up, and make it a little bit more streamlined and efficient, as well as again, I really feel like I have an knack for building relationships and knowing how to communicate with different type of people. I read a book called Wired That Way. I don't know if you've ever read it. And if you
No.
haven't, I highly suggest you read it. It's
Okay.
about personality types. And so being able to recognize different personality types and knowing how to communicate with them and what they like and what draws out the good in them is so big. I highly recommend anyone that is in a role where they're working with people to read different type of people skill books. Wired That Way is a great one. How to Win Friends and Influence People is a great one. Any Og Mandino book is really good too. How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling. I know the word selling isn't in, and some people are like, I'm not in sales. I don't like selling. It's the title is not the message of the book. The message of the book is what you're going to get a lot out of. It's just talking about his specific journey, and he wasn't selling, but it's the core principles that he learned and that he applied that anyone can apply. So because I do actively read those types of books and I'm very invested in self-growth, I really feel like I'm able to communicate and relate and bridge gaps a lot of times between different types of people, C-levels, managers, and then your everyday man.
Wow. Well, those are great. I'm going to take all those recommendations and put them in the notes so that people can definitely go read those. I've never read Wired that way, but it sounds like a great book. And you're right. We're not taught how to properly communicate and work with people. That's not something
Right.
that like we really are taught. And
Hmm.
actually, that's probably the most important skill that you can have in an organization and moving up in an organization is how to understand people, how to communicate with people, and then
Right.
ultimately how to control your emotions in those high stress and emotional situations. So that's really great advice, and I'll make sure we get those books in there. So tell me about, as you're in transition, what are some of the things that keep you motivated? You had mentioned having a growth mindset, and obviously you're talking about reading all of these books. How do you stay motivated as you're transitioning?
It's hard at first when you're going through the process of finding roles, applying for them, tailoring your resume so it's the perfect resume for the role. A lot of people are starting to want cover letters again. And then you get the emails of, oh, I'm sorry, we're going with someone else, even if you had a referral within the company. The market is very funny right now, and it does get discouraging. But what I lean on is I lean on my faith, knowing that God's got me and I'm going to land where I'm supposed to land. And I lean on the fact that if I don't get an opportunity, there's a strong reason that I didn't get it, and God's orchestrating that on purpose. And honestly, it's one of those things. I have a great support system. My husband is such a rock star for me. Like, I'll get down and he'll remind me, like, hey, you're fine. You're going to find something and it's going to be great, and we're fine. Keep going. I definitely work out to help clear up any mental fog, because that can also come in the time of, scanning LinkedIn, scanning, job posts and websites and everything. It gets very daunting. So you need to physically do something instead of just sitting in front of your computer 24/7 to release that stress, release all of that buildup, and just remember that at the end of the day, you're going to land where you're supposed to land. That's one of the biggest things I hold on to. And I'm like, you know what? It's fine. That missed me. That's okay. But what's for me won't. And that's honestly how I keep going.
Yeah, that's great advice. And that's similar to what my sister said on a episode prior, which was when she was out of work, she did not sit at her computer all day. She said that would drive her crazy. And anybody doing that, like, take time to yourself while you have the
Yeah.
opportunity. Take time to
Hmm.
yourself and think about what you really want in your next position because you can take any role, and there's going to be situations where you have to just take a role so that you have a
Right.
paycheck because not everyone has a partner like you do or a partner like my
Right.
sister had or some people don't have that opportunity, but if you have
Right.
the opportunity to really think about what you want and make sure that you're landing somewhere that's going to be the right place for you, that's more important than just trying to get something to stuff it in and maybe it actually ends up
Yeah.
not better for you.
110%. And that's honestly how the personal training came about. Because I've always wanted to be a personal trainer. I've always wanted to get that cert. And obviously, during COVID would have been the ideal time. We were all sitting at home, but I didn't pull the trigger back then. And it wasn't until I started kind of seeing the writing on the wall with my current role that, hey, you might not be in this role much longer. What do you want to do next? My husband asked me a very important question. He said, what do you want your next move to look like? Where do you want to be? Not what do you have to do? What can you do? Where do you want to be? And he's like, and sit and think about that. Don't just say you want another job. What do you want to be doing? Where do you want to be? And so I sat and I thought about it for a couple days. And I realized I'm like, I've always wanted to get my personal training cert because I've always wanted to train people. And so from that point, he said, well, do the research. What do you need to do for that? And what does that look like after you get it? And we've had many conversations about just about the future and planning and everything like that. And that's honestly how that came about. I was like, you know what? He's right. If I don't do it now, I'm going to be 6 months down the line, and be like, I wish I would have started 6 months ago. So, and it was it the best timing? No. We were in the middle of moving. We were in the middle of some family stuff going on. We were in the middle of not knowing if I was going to have a job in 3 months. But I was like, at the end of the day, the time's going to pass regardless. So we need to go ahead and just get that started. And then from there, it's now opening up more doors for me.
I love it. It's never the right time. There's never the right time. And
No,
there's always stuff going on. Like,
that's
I
life.
thought about launching this podcast. Like, I was so excited about it. I couldn't wait. But I'm like getting married in 2 weeks. I'm doing stuff at work that's a lot heavy intensive work at work. And then I'm also, I just got life coach certified. So there was
I
that I
saw
was
that.
doing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But, people are like, Laura, how do you do it? And I'm like, I just do.
Yeah,
It's never a
you
right
just have to.
time. You can sit there and drive yourself crazy about when is the right time for me to do this thing. Just do it. Stop
Yeah.
waiting.
People always say that you're going to make time for what you want. So,
Absolutely. If your water heater explodes right now, what are you going to do? You're going to address the water heater. So treat your priorities in life, what you want, like the water heater. Just do it.
yeah,
Focus
yep,
there. Take the time. Put something else
exactly.
on the back burner that's less important. But it's priorities at the end of the
Scrolling
day.
is less important. Stop doing
Just
it.
scrolling. Stop scrolling. Great advice. Advice for the youth, stop scrolling.
Stop
I mean,
scrolling.
I guess I can consider myself the youth. Stop
I
scrolling.
definitely consider myself the you. Thank you.
Speaking of the youth, what advice would you share for somebody starting out in their career? What advice that would you share with yourself back in the day when you were first starting out?
Yeah, if I could meet my younger self again, I would definitely tell her, think about where you want to be and then go for it relentlessly. Don't listen to what other people are telling you. Yes, some people are going to tell you things out of love because of what they know, but they only know what they know. They don't know what you want. They don't know what you're willing to do, what you're willing to give up in your drive. And when I really want something, when I'm really determined to get something, I am like a dog with a bone. I am going after it and I will accomplish that thing. And I didn't realize that's how I was until later on in life. And while, like I said, I'm still very young, don't I look it? I'm very young still. So I have all the time in the world to still pursue a lot of things, and I am. And me and my husband we are together. We have some life goals that we're trying to get done together. I wish I would have known back then that other people's opinions don't pay my bills. They will never pay my bills. And what I want is on the other side of me being in the way of myself. Go for it, be relentless in it, utilize your resources. And even if right now you don't see the payoff, keep going. Sow seeds because there will come a harvest time. It doesn't happen right away, and you need to water and tend it, but harvest will come. Just keep going.
Oh my
There's a
gosh.
great book about that too. Acres of Diamonds. Great book. It's a small book, but it's a great book that talks about keep going, how you're literally sitting on your diamond field.
I love that analogy so much. As a gardener, you plant those seeds and you sit there and you wait. And I have
Mhm.
like a whole garden bed where the seeds just aren't coming in. It's like, but you've got to give it the light. You've got to give it the water. You've got to get it the fertilizer. Like your life is like that. Like you've
Yes.
got to literally, you can plant the seeds. It's not going to happen overnight. And you got to keep working at it. You
Yes.
got to keep trying. Like it's not going to always work the first time.
Mhm.
And when it does come, it's going to be so worth it. After I grew my first like cucumber or
Mhm.
tomato, I was like one tomato, like, and I'm thrilled and
But
life
then
is
how many
better.
tomatoes came after that one tomato showed up? How many tomatoes came after that?
So many more.
Yeah, I had a friend, she loves gardening and she didn't even like tomatoes, but she planted them. So I used to get like bags of them. She's like, they won't stop growing. And I'm like, well, you did a good job then.
Yeah,
But and
give
that's
her
what a lot
my
of people
number.
don't realize. Yeah, I know,
I
right? I
need
need
help with
to.
that.
I got you, girl. I'll hook you up. We live in such a microwave society that people want now, 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 now. And it's like people don't realize you have to cultivate things. It's like going to the gym. It's like if you're not consistent, if you don't go on a consistent basis and do the things you need to do and put in the work, you're never going to see the results. But then you're going to get mad. Well, I tried the gym once upon a time and it didn't
Yeah,
work for me. You
yeah.
went one time. Like,
But
what
it's
do you
also
want?
like it's also diet and it's also habit and it's also
Right.
all
There's
these
other
other
things that go into it.
components.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
It's not
Yeah.
just doing it. It's strategy versus tactic. You can do
Yeah.
tactics, but if you don't have an overall strategy of how you're going to accomplish something, then it's very difficult to actually accomplish.
Right. That game plan is so important in everything.
Yeah, totally. And I just have to say it again, microwave society, I've never heard that, and I love it. We really do.
Really?
I've never
Oh
heard that.
yeah. Yeah, we talk about
Wow.
it all the time about like how everyone wants everything instant. Like even so Amazon, good. Are we allowed to talk
Good
about other company
example.
names?
Yeah,
They like you had regular Amazon where things would come in a couple days, and then you got Prime. So now you have like 1 or 2 days, and then you got next day delivery, and then you have overnight, and now we have same day, and it's still not fast enough for people.
literally. Like, I think about children and how they're sitting waiting at the door for their toy to arrive in the mail. Isn't that
No,
crazy?
that's wild. That is wild.
And so the kids are like growing up in this microwave society.
Yeah. Well, with their tablets and everything, yeah, they have happiness dopamine
Oh
hits
my
on
gosh.
demand.
And forget about if there's no Wi-Fi at the restaurant.
They'll have to color like we did.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, that's so good. Okay. So I need to know what legacy you want to leave behind and how are you building it today?
Great question, because my husband and I talk about legacy all the time. The legacy that I want to leave behind is that we are good to people. Like, and when I say we, I say the Ward family, like our family, because I think of us as a unit. And when you're one of us, you represent all of us, kind of thing. We're good to people. We're good for our word, and we are constantly growing and helping others to grow. We say all the time that we want to add value to anyone we meet, even if it's just a kind word. And we're actively always looking for ways to add values to other people. So outside of my daytime job, my husband and I do own our own business where that's what we do. We look for ways to add value to other people. And that is where we have found to be so much more fulfilled than just trying to run the rat race like everyone else every day. We're working together to build something that will provide financial stability for our family, but that we can also raise our kids in an environment of positivity, of hard work, and of integrity.
That's a great legacy to leave behind.
Thank you.
For the last like three questions, I've been wanting to mention this, and now I ha really have to. You speak so highly of your husband and the partnership that you have.
Thank
And
you.
I think it would be really helpful if you don't mind sharing any insight into maybe people who don't feel like they have that today. Like, what are
Mhm.
some of the strategies you and your husband implemented to really become that unit that you spoke of? Because I do see a lot of people struggle in the partnership department of their
Yeah.
relationship. And so, can you just share some advice there? Because you've mentioned it so much, and it seems like you really do have such a strong, I don't want to say partnership again, but I'm gonna because I can't think of the word I'm looking for. You have such
It's
a
fun.
strong partnership, it sounds like, and I think actually people would benefit from any advice you would have there.
Of course. So, excuse me. I, prior to him, had a very interesting relationship, very not healthy. And when I met him, I was at a point in my life where I was just turning everything over to God, being like, God, I trust you. I just want to get to know you. And I want it to be you and me. Like, I can't do that other stuff anymore. And he was at that point also. So when we met each other, we weren't looking for each other, but we did find each other. And we started off that relationship not wanting to be anything more than friends. We wanted to get to know each other first, because something that we both realized that we both have jumped into past relationships pretty quickly, not really knowing the other person, finding out who the other person was along the ride, which at the end of the day, you will always be learning about each other, yes, but knowing core values and core beliefs prior to being like, okay, this is a thing now. So we were working on ourselves, we found each other, and then we both understood and both wanted to make sure that communication was the number one thing that we were always working on in our relationship. And that has been all made all the difference, because we're very different people. While we are similar in a lot of facets, we're also very different people in terms of communication styles. And I'm more outgoing, he's a little bit more introverted, all of that. So we had to learn how to talk to each other, understand each other, and realize how the other person liked to be communicated with. And it was a journey, but it wasn't a tough journey in the sense of because we would talk about it and we knew that we wanted to improve our communication. So it's like, hey, I'm unsure how you want me to communicate this. What are your thoughts? What are you thinking? Always looking to understand the other person. And I think that's something that a lot of people miss. They're trying to get the other person to understand them instead of understanding the other person. And that goes in any relationship. Everyone always wants to be heard. Everyone always wants their opinion to be validated and understood. But a lot of times we don't stop to listen and try to understand the other person and what they're saying. Something that I've learned with him is that what he says sometimes is there's layers to it. So I have to dig and ask him questions and ask for clarification. We went through marital counseling, which I think was really positive with the reverend from his family's church, because I learned a phrase there that I think is so beneficial for everyone to know. The phrase is, so what I think I'm hearing you say is this. And you can use that in work, especially if you're in sales or any client facing role, you can use that then. But it really just, it helps you understand like, hey, this is what I'm hearing. Is this what you're trying to say? Because a lot of times you'll realize that no, that's not what they're trying to say at all. They just didn't know how to say it. But using that phrase also shows that person that you're looking to understand them. So communication has always been and is still today our biggest avenue that we're looking to improve on. And then from there, it's just knowing that we're two different people, but we have a common goal. Our values align, and we know that at the end of the day, we can always come back to that. You know, we're both rooted in our faith. We can always come back to home base, even if, you know, we're upset at each other, everything like that. Our values are the same. So we know we're going to always be on the same path.
Wow. Thank you
I
for
hope that answered
sharing
your
that.
question.
It was so helpful because you're right. Where I see the breakdown so often is the communication,
Yeah.
and they'll communicate with everybody else about the problem instead of each other. And
Mm-hmm.
so thank you because there's somebody out there that's having a challenge in their
Yeah.
relationship and thinking, well, if at least we can communicate, we can figure out how to progress or disengage.
Yeah.
At some
And
point,
I
you have to
think,
make that decision.
right, you do have to make a decision 110%. And I think one of the hardest things for a lot of people is having those difficult conversations where, oh, I think he might judge me if I say this, or I don't want to hurt his feelings that. And it's like, if you're coming to the other person vulnerable, hands up, like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm thinking. The other person can't, if they love you, if they care about you, they can't do anything but see that and be like, okay, we need to work together on this. Like, this person's not attacking me. They're not coming for me. They're genuinely like at a spot where they're not sure how to handle what's going on here. I think vulnerability, and that's something that he asked for me from day one, is I need you to be vulnerable with me, because that allowed him then to be vulnerable with me because he knew that this was a two-way street.
Yeah, it's hard with us strong women at times to be
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable because we feel like we need to be
Mm-hmm.
strong all the time. But when it comes to your partner, it's really important to be able to feel like you can be vulnerable and for them
Yes.
to accept that and to work
Yes.
through it with you. And the partnership is critical.
Yes.
This is a work podcast, but honestly, how you show up at work depends very much on what you have going on at home too.
110%. And how you are at home has everything to do with what's going on with you. So it all starts with you.
Okay, so what I also heard was that outside of communication, it sounds like God is truly involved in your relationship. Can you
Yes.
share that with everybody?
Of course. So, like I said, when I first met him, I was very much in a God, like, I just want to get to know you. I want to be with you. I want our relationship to get better. And it's funny enough that he was actually in the exact same situation. He had just gone out of a long-term relationship and he was focusing on his walk with God, focusing on work, focusing on his business. And we just happened to come together. And we have always said that outside of communication, that we keep God in the center of our relationship. We came together, we both realized that we were on this journey together. we actually did Bible study together. He was helping launch this study for youth at his church. And he's like, do you mind sitting in on the first one? I was like, yeah, of course. And then after that, he was like, oh, you don't have to keep coming. And said, I'm not coming for you. Like, I want to be there because I want to participate in the Bible study. So I'd been looking for one up to that point. And so we Bible study, devotionals, like keeping God at the center of our relationship is our absolute like no, like communication could be terrible. God, He is the center of our relationship at all times. And that is something that we won't ever waver on. And if we feel that one is straying away, we bring it back, pray together, all of that. And that's honestly, that really is the foundation of our relationship. And because of God, we're able to have good communication and able to build such a strong partnership.
My sister taught me that. She said God comes first always.
Always.
In before any relationship, before your children,
Yep.
God always is first. And I will say, looking now when I find people or I meet people who lead with God in the relationship, they have the strongest relationships.
Oh, 100%. It's funny because for a while we would wake up and he would grab his phone and I'd be so annoyed. I'm like, you don't even say good morning. And he's like, I'm doing my devotional. I'm spending my time with God. And I'm like, fair enough. Okay,
Yep.
go do your thing. He
I
gets the
love
first
that.
good morning, and I am perfectly fine with that because having a husband, having someone in your life who is looking to have that relationship with God, who is chasing after his love and chasing after, being more like him and just being with him. Like you literally can't ask for anything more because you know the peace that he's going to have in his life, the direction is going to be right, and you know that everything he does is going to be done with integrity and with being a man of faith. And like to me personally, I couldn't ask for anything more.
Totally. Well, this has been such an incredible conversation. Is there anything that you would like to share as your final thoughts for anybody listening who's either open to work or thinking about being open to work or just having a hard time in life? What insight do you want to just share before we end here?
Yeah, so this has been such a great time. Thank you again, Laura, so much for asking me here. I was unsure about it at first. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to add value to anyone, but in the conversations we've been having, it's been very easy. Feels like I'm catching up with an old friend over a cup of coffee, just talking about life. So thank you so much again. And honestly, for everyone out there, I would just say figure out where you want to be and work backwards how to get there. And don't let anyone stop you from doing what you want to do. Put in the work, utilize your resources. We have networks for a reason. Like we are by nature beings that are supposed to be in community. So use your community, have those conversations, grab a cup of coffee with someone who's where you want to be and pick their brain, ask them how they got there. I think that's such an underutilized skill that we have is just having conversation and having relationships with people naturally. So go out there, go after what you want, know what you want, and don't let people get in your way because if they're not paying your bills, their opinions don't matter.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you again. Seriously, such a great time. And I'm looking forward to continuing to follow your journey and staying in
Thank
touch. And
you.
I just want to say for anybody who's open to work, if you are ready to step into the spotlight, reach out to me, see if you get you on the podcast. But thanks again, Dana, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Laura.